At my husband's birthday party, a woman walked in holding a baby. She said, "This is your husband's son." Everyone was stunned, including me. Furious, I confronted my husband. He cried and said, it was a mistake. But the real twist? The woman was actually The whole night had been planned down to the last detail. I had spent weeks organizing a perfect birthday party for my husband, Daniel. His favorite restaurant, his closest friends, our family, all gathered together in a private dining hall in a beautiful venue in Charleston, South Carolina. Everything was perfect. Until she walked in. The room went silent the moment the door swung open. A woman, probably in her late 20s, stood at the entrance, holding a baby, maybe 6 or 7 months old. Her expression was tense, and her hands clutched the baby's blanket so tightly her knuckles were white. I didn't recognize her. But Daniel did. I turned to look at him, and the color had completely drained from his face. His fork slipped from his fingers, clattering loudly against his plate. Everyone's eyes darted back and forth between them. Then, in a voice that was clear as day, the woman said the words that shattered my entire world. "This is your husband's son." Gasps rippled through the room. My mother put a hand over her mouth. His parents, who had just been beaming with pride minutes earlier, stared in shock. The air was so thick with tension that I could barely breathe. I could feel every pair of eyes on me, waiting for my reaction. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might stop altogether. I pushed back my chair and stood up, my hands shaking. I turned to Daniel, barely able to keep my voice steady. "Is this true?" His eyes were already glistening with tears. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. He swallowed hard, ran a trembling hand through his hair, and then, his voice cracked, he whispered, "It was a mistake." A mistake. I let out a short, humorless laugh. A mistake. There was a baby. A baby. My voice broke, and I shook my head, unable to even form the words. The woman, still standing at the doorway, spoke again. "I'm sorry to do this here, but he hasn't been answering my calls. He needs to take responsibility." The room was so quiet that the sound of the baby fussing was the only thing filling the air. I turned back to Daniel, and he had buried his face in his hands. He was shaking. He was breaking down right in front of everyone. But I didn't care. I needed answers. Before I could say another word, my sister, Laura, stood up, furious. "Who even are you?" she demanded, her voice sharp. The woman hesitated, then took a deep breath. And then she said something that made the ground beneath me feel like it had been ripped away. "My name is Rachel." The name barely registered at first. But then it clicked. Rachel. My cousin. I felt the world around me blur. I had grown up with Rachel. She was family. We had spent summers together at our grandmother's house in Savannah. She was at my wedding. I heard someone gasp, but I wasn't sure if it was me or someone else. Rachel's gaze was locked onto mine, her eyes full of something between regret and defiance. "I tried to tell you," she said quietly. "I really did." I took a step back, feeling like I was going to collapse. "You tried to tell me?" My voice came out hoarse. "You had a child with my husband and you tried to tell me?" Daniel finally lifted his head. His face was streaked with tears, and I could see the absolute devastation written all over it. "I swear, it only happened once," he choked out. "It was before she even knew she was pregnant. I didn't know what to do." Rachel let out a bitter laugh. "Before I knew I was pregnant?" "Daniel, I told you." The way he flinched told me everything I needed to know. He had known. And he had chosen to keep it from me. The realization hit me like a tidal wave, crashing down with the weight of betrayal, heartbreak, and sheer disbelief. This wasn't just about a mistake. This was about a choice. A choice to lie. A choice to let me go on, celebrating anniversaries, planning vacations, waking up beside him every morning, never knowing that my own cousin had given birth to his child. I could barely breathe. My hands were shaking so badly that I clenched them into fists to try to keep steady. My entire body felt cold. Around us, the party was no longer a party. My mother was whispering frantically with my father, his parents looked too stunned to even move, and my sister had gone completely silent, her face unreadable. I turned back to Rachel, my voice barely above a whisper. "Why now?" She hesitated, shifting the baby in her arms. "Because I couldn't keep waiting for him to do the right thing." She looked at Daniel, her expression filled with frustration and something else, pain. "You kept saying you'd fix this. But you never did." I had no choice. A bitter laugh escaped my lips before I could stop it. No choice. I had no choice, Rachel. I was the only one here who never got to make a choice. No one spoke. The weight of everything settled onto my chest. I turned to Daniel, my voice calm but hollow. You don't get to cry. He blinked at me, his face crumbling, but I wasn't done. You don't get to sit here and act like the victim. I am the one who had to find out like this. I am the one whose life just fell apart in front of everyone we know. So no, you don't get to cry. He inhaled sharply, as if I had physically struck him. But I had nothing left to say. I stepped back, my entire body numb. I need to leave. Laura immediately grabbed my purse and put a hand on my back. I'm coming with you, she whispered. I barely nodded before turning to walk out the door. But before I could, Rachel called after me. Please, I stopped in my tracks but didn't turn around. She hesitated. I never wanted it to happen like this. I closed my eyes for a moment, my throat burning. Neither did I. And then, without another word, I walked out of the party, leaving behind the life I thought I knew. I don't even remember the drive home. My sister, Laura, kept glancing at me, but she didn't say much. She knew better. She knew I was hanging by a thread. The moment I stepped into our house, the house I had built with Daniel, I felt sick. The wedding photos on the walls, the cozy couch where we had spent so many nights together, the kitchen where we made breakfast every Sunday morning. Everything felt like a lie. I couldn't stay here. I dropped my purse on the floor, turned to Laura, and said, I can't do this. She nodded like she had already expected it. Pack a bag. You're coming with me. And just like that, I left. The messages started almost immediately. Daniel, please come home. We need to talk. Daniel, I don't know what to do. I messed up. I know I did. But please don't shut me out. Daniel, I love you. I need you. I turned off my phone. For the first time in years, I didn't care what he needed. But what I wasn't prepared for. The messages from Rachel. Rachel, please. Can we talk? Rachel, I never wanted to hurt you. Rachel, I didn't do this to destroy your marriage. I was just tired of being ignored. 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 I felt rage bubble up inside me. She wanted sympathy. After this? I tossed my phone onto the couch and walked into Laura's kitchen. She was already making tea, like she knew I needed something to hold on to. I need answers, I whispered. And I'm going to get them. The next morning, I called Rachel. She picked up on the first ring. Oh my, thank you for calling. Meet me at the park on Oak Street, I interrupted. No baby. Just you. Silence. Then, a quiet, okay. An hour later, we sat across from each other on a bench. She looked nervous, fidgeting with her sleeves. I wasted no time. How long? She swallowed. It was one night. A mistake. I don't care about the excuses. I want the truth. Rachel inhaled sharply. It happened over a year ago. Right after your anniversary. I clenched my fists. Our anniversary. The night Daniel and I had spent celebrating our years together. The night I had given him a heartfelt letter about how much I loved him. And that same week, he had betrayed me. Rachel's voice was small. I told him about the baby, and he panicked. He asked me to stay quiet until he figured things out. But months passed, and he did nothing. I had to go public. I stared at her. So you waited until his birthday party? In front of everyone? She sighed. It wasn't planned. I ran into your mother at the store. She invited me. She didn't know. Of course. My mother, always welcoming, always kind, had unknowingly set this whole disaster into motion. I stood up. I have nothing else to say to you. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. I know you hate me. I hate myself too. I didn't respond. I just walked away. When I got back to Laura's house, Daniel was waiting on the porch. His face was pale, his eyes bloodshot. I crossed my arms. Why are you here? He stepped forward. I don't want to lose you. I let out a short laugh. You already did. He shook his head, desperate. I love you. I made a mistake, but I love you. I stared at him, at the man I thought I knew. The man who had made vows to me. The man who had built a life with me. And then I said the words I never thought I would say. I don't think I love you anymore. He sucked in a breath like I had punched him. His hands trembled. No. Don't say that. We can fix this. I shook my head. Some things can't be fixed. Tears spilled down his face. I never wanted this. But you chose it, I said quietly. And with that, I turned and walked inside, closing the door behind me. The next day, just when I thought I had seen it all, there was a knock on Laura's door. I opened it. And standing there was a man I had never met before. Are you, he hesitated. Are you Daniel's wife? I frowned. Who are you? He exhaled slowly. My name is Mark. I think we need to talk. It's about Rachel. My stomach dropped. What about her? Mark's expression was grim. She lied to you. About everything. I stared at the man in front of me. Mark. He looked nervous, like he wasn't sure how to start. What do you mean Rachel lied? I asked. He sighed. Can we sit down? This might take a while. Laura, who had been watching from behind me, stepped forward. Come in, she said, eyeing him cautiously. We sat in the living room, and Mark rubbed his hands together, clearly gathering his thoughts. Then he spoke. I'm Rachel's ex. We were together for 3 years. I thought we were happy. Then one day, out of nowhere, she left me. She said she needed to focus on herself, that she wasn't ready for commitment. I was heartbroken, but I let her go. I frowned. What does that have to do with me? Mark's jaw tightened. I found out later that she left because she was pregnant. But the thing is. He hesitated. She was already pregnant before she and I broke up. A cold chill ran down my spine. Are you saying? Yes, Mark said, his voice firm. There's a very real chance that the baby isn't Daniel's at all. It could be mine. My head spun. Rachel had caused so much pain, had ruined my marriage, on a lie. I swallowed hard. How do you know for sure? Mark exhaled. I don't. But the timeline doesn't add up. She was already showing signs of pregnancy when she left me, and that was before she supposedly had this one-night mistake with Daniel. Laura leaned forward, furious. So she trapped my sister's husband with a baby that might not even be his? Mark nodded. And she was so quick to go public. Why? Because she needed Daniel to believe the baby was his. Maybe she knew he'd step up, take responsibility. Maybe she thought she could break your marriage apart and take your life for herself. I sat there, my hands gripping the arms of my chair. Rachel had used me. She had used Daniel. She had destroyed my life over a baby that might not even be his. I took a deep breath. I want a DNA test. I want to prove the truth. Mark nodded. I do too. And just like that, we had a plan. Mark and I worked together. He managed to get legal advice and pushed Rachel for a test. She resisted, of course. She called Daniel, crying, begging him not to listen to me, saying I was just trying to ruin things out of spite. But the damage had already been done. Daniel agreed to the test. 2 weeks later, the results came in. The baby was not his. Rachel's entire world fell apart in an instant. Daniel called me, his voice shaking. It's not mine, he whispered. I ruined everything over nothing. I felt nothing for him anymore. No pity. No anger. Just emptiness. I told you, I said simply. Some things can't be fixed. Rachel tried to reach out. She called. She sent messages. She even showed up at Laura's house once, but I refused to open the door. She wanted to explain, to apologize, but I had no interest in listening. She had done enough damage. I filed for divorce. Daniel didn't fight it. He barely even spoke. He had lost everything, his wife, his reputation, and even his own dignity. His family was ashamed of him, his friends distanced themselves, and his once perfect life crumbled beneath him. But I wasn't done yet. During the divorce, I fought for everything. Our house. Mine. Our savings. Mine. I had proof of his betrayal, and the court sided with me. Daniel walked away with nothing but regret. And to top it all off, I sold our house. The home we built together. And guess who I sold it to? Mark. The man Rachel had abandoned. The man she had lied to. The man she thought was nothing more than a forgotten mistake. When Rachel found out, she lost it. She showed up at the house, screaming at Mark. "How could you?" she cried. "I loved you." Mark just looked at her, calm and collected. "Funny. That's exactly what you told Daniel." And then he shut the door in her face. Months later, I was sitting in a cafe, enjoying my freedom, when Daniel showed up. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in weeks. "Can I sit?" he asked. I sighed. "Make it quick." He hesitated, then said, "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Truly. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I needed to say it." I looked at him, at the man I had once loved, and felt absolutely nothing. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and gave him a small, polite smile. "I appreciate that," I said. "But you're not my problem anymore." And with that, I walked away, leaving him behind, just like he deserved.